You're listening to China Africa Talk.
Jambo, ni Bridget akikuletea kipindi kinachohusiana na China na Afrika.
Vous écoutez le dialogue sino-africain avec Bridget.
Everything China, everything Africa.
Olá, você está ouvindo China Africa Talk com Bridget.
سيداتي وسادتي مرحبا بكم في الحوار الصيني العربي مع بريدجيت.
Welcome back to the program. You're listening to China Africa Talk. I'm your host, Bridget Mutambirwa, coming to you from the Chinese capital in Beijing with more discussions on what's happening with China and Africa from a Chinese and African perspective. June 25 marks the 50th anniversary of Mozambique's independence, as well as the 50th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between China and Mozambique. Over the past 5 decades, the two countries have built a lasting friendship with cooperation in agriculture, education and infrastructure standing as a model for partnership among developing nations.
China has many projects in Mozambique, like the Maputo-Katembe Bridge. Our local farmers being also assisted by Chinese.
According to official data, trade between China and Mozambique reached $5.2 billion in 2024. Since December 1st, 2024, Mozambique has benefited from zero-tariff treatment on all taxable goods exported to China. So, what other milestones have shaped the evolution of this bilateral relationship over the past 50 years? And what lies ahead for the future of China-Mozambique ties? I speak to Gil Anibal, a political analyst from Mozambique. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Anibal, this year marks the 50th anniversary of diplomatic ties between China and Mozambique. How would you assess the evolution of bilateral relations over the past 5 decades?
The relationship between Mozambique and China is positive and higher standard of diplomatic issues. China always was here with us. Even our independence, China has contributed for that. So we have a long-term relationship in different areas like diplomatic, politics, and economics. So our relationship, I can say, is very, very good. Talking about specifically Mozambique, we can say China is contributing in infrastructure construction. Mm-hmm. China has many projects in Mozambique, like we call Circular de Maputo. Mm-hmm. Circular de Maputo is the name of the road that China has built.
Okay.
So Circular Maputo involves also the Maputo-Katembe Bridge, which is the biggest bridge in SADC countries. So this is an example in infrastructure contribution from China financial and economic issues. But China is also present in different economic lines like hydrocarbon and energy. Mm-hmm. As you know, we have a Chinese company here exploring natural gas in Rovuma Basin in Area 1 and the Area 4. Right now in Area 4, we are exporting LNG for Europe, Asia, and other countries. Right. And China is there as a part of concessionary. This is my second example. In agriculture, China is providing assistance, like technical assistance, financial assistance, even in product. So many trades from China is found in Mozambique. Chinese is a part of Mozambican development. We are happy for that.
Okay. You mentioned agriculture there, and we know that agriculture remains the backbone of Mozambique's economy. We know that China has helped establish an agricultural technology demonstration center in Mozambique. What tangible outcomes have the center produced, and what role does it play in Mozambique's agricultural modernization, local communities as well?
Well, agriculture in Mozambique is said by the government as the pillar of the development. Even our constitution is setting as a pillar of development in Mozambique. So the financial and the support from China is contributing for our GDP, and many agriculture products from that's a financial support from China. Mm-hmm. So our local farmers being also assisted by Chinese not only company, but assistance from government, as you know. And as I said, Chinese companies coming to Mozambique and the relationship with the government and the local farmers is set in bilateral manners. And these farmers, assisted by the Mozambique government, behind of that, we found the Chinese cooperation.
Right.
Behind of that, we found financial support from China. So I can say not China is implementing directly to the farmer, but is government doing that, supported by Chinese cooperation. We also have an agriculture relationship and a trade from these two countries. And in addition, I can say we can also found Chinese companies, Chinese people as a community Mozambique doing another business, another local business, like a commercial product from China and Mozambique as well.
I saw at the CAETE in Changsha, which was held recently, I saw Mozambique was showcasing some agricultural products there, and there were also a lot of SMEs that were there. And I guess one could notice easily that, Mozambique is actually relying heavily on agriculture. The presence of the SMEs that were there, there was a heavy presence there. So I also have the feeling that this cooperation in agriculture is uplifting small businesses in Mozambique.
Yeah, I think our development not only is an effort from Mozambican government, but China is the biggest investor in Mozambique.
Okay.
I can mention some example. I talk about agriculture, mineral resources, but China is also in transport and communication, tourism, in the industry. Talking about industry, you can find Chinese company exploring material for construction. Chinese company is there and making the country in road of development based on this good relationship we had this long 15 years.
China has been Africa's largest trading partner for 16 consecutive years. In your view, how has China-Mozambique trade cooperation contributed to economic transformation, especially in sectors like industry and infrastructure?
Yeah, I can just summarize.
Sure, please.
In billion of US dollar, which this relationship between Mozambique and China is contributing for our GDP, as I said. For example, in 2024, last year, in this case, because of this bilateral trade between China and Mozambique, we were able to achieve like 5.21 billion of US dollars.
5.21.
Yeah, billion of US dollars.
Okay, that's a lot.
It's a big achievement. Yeah, so as I said, China is a heart of economy Mozambique, because you can find Chinese making trade in different areas, in different sectors. So the many sectors we are appreciating in the Mozambique needs right now is this infrastructure, like roads, railways, etc. So China is there. As I mentioned before, China built the biggest bridge in SADC countries, which can work in the Mozambique. Besides of this, Chinese companies is rebuilding the road number 1 of Mozambique. We call it N1. The main country roads we have right now, Chinese companies there rebuilding in different branches.
Where does this road stretch to in the southern?
This road connects South Africa, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Malawi, Tanzania. So as I said, it's a number 1 road of economy in Mozambique. Education also, China is helping Mozambique training to educate their people.
Okay.
So I think Mozambique are educated from China in different like military, philosophy, mathematics, physics, politics, etc. They Mozambican can work, I think, in different countries around the SADC. And we have many examples. Mozambican trained in China and are working abroad. So I think is a biggest example, because African countries struggle about quality of education, and the Chinese government is helping in scholarship to Mozambican people to study different branches of knowledge. So we appreciate that, and that it is an example that also is helping develop Mozambique.
Let's go back to trade. In a recent development there, China is planning to expand zero-tariff treatment to 53 African countries, including Mozambique. How do you envision these measures in promoting Mozambique's trade and enhancing its competitiveness?
I think it's a good road. It's a good road because China has a specific friendship to Mozambique. We have a different line of financial support from China, even technical support. But let me introduce you. I was in Zambia a few weeks ago.
Okay.
What I saw in Zambia is that Chinese also is present
Right.
in Zambia.
Right.
In different branches like agriculture, education, industry, so on. So it means the external political from China to the Africa is better, and that is a good way because Africa's leaders is receiving that support from Chinese government to develop their countries, and that the example is visible. So China,
I guess in your way, you're seeing this like it actually cements the relations moving forward.
The financial support and another issue supporting the countries in Africa is visible. Let me talk political that it means the relationship, bilateral relationship from African country to China. The result is visible in the countries because the countries is developing in agriculture, is developing infrastructure, transport, communications, and so on. So the people is happy with Chinese cooperation. So Mozambique also is in that road, and that we have specific financial support and technical support because we are celebrating 15 years of bilateral collaboration in the bilateral relationship. Even our independence, I say it again, China has contributed for that. So I can say in the 53 countries, countries that receive financial or another support from China, I think they are happy. That's why China is in those countries.
Okay. Now, what progress has Mozambique made in increasing these exports to the Chinese market? And are there any sectors that you are that maybe Mozambique is looking to strengthen further in terms of trade and in terms of exports?
Our expectation is that Chinese can continue to build the industry here or set industry here so that it can employ so many Mozambicans and also process product and export. It can add some value and contribute so on in our GDP. As I said, in 2024, Chinese companies or relationship has contributed in 5.21 billion US dollar in economic growth in Mozambique. So this is the biggest contribution for us, even in the industry. And also we would like to have a Chinese company here in I said transport, but if a Chinese set here a manufacturer for cars would be fine, because so many cars we are using for public transport is coming from China. Why not China come here to set
some industries?
in industry here in China. This is the biggest market because as you know, we are about 35 or 34 millions of Mozambicans, and our index is growing up. So we have population, and the population is a market. So Chinese can set so many industries and look for another different ways of doing business from Mozambique, China, and other countries. Talking about energy transition, for example,
Right.
we have natural gas. The government of Mozambique is trying to reduce the fuel consumption and use the natural gas, to fuel in transport, thermal energies, etc. So China can exploit this market and export the products. It is possible. It's possible. That's why we have a Chinese company in a energy and hydrocarbon sectors now trying to set in significant projects and so on.
Ever wondered what's actually going on in Africa through the perspective of an African? How are things really going between China and Africa? What's the narrative of this relationship? Well, get a perspective with China Africa Talk. Hear from African diplomats, entrepreneurs, academics, Chinese natives, and more. Get on our wavelength every week to find out what's real with China Africa Talk. Find us on your favorite podcast. We'll see you there. Mozambique was the first African nation to sign a global strategic partnership cooperation with China and actively participates in the Belt and Road Initiative. How has this partnership benefited Mozambique and the Southern African region more broadly?
Well, Mozambique has open political external issues. It means we Mozambicans, we are friends of everyone, or every country. That's why our participation in international issues like UN issues, we are also and try to be neutral. So it is no problem have a relationship with global or another countries, but we have a specific issues from China because our history from our ties from we can back to the 60s. We started in 60s. Mozambique was still struggling for independence.
Right.
So, and China helped Mozambican people in that period to achieve this, we call it right now 15 years of independence. So our relationship is specific and has history. So it's no problem has a global relationship, but we have a preference. And our preference right now, looking for this areas that this sector which China has making a notorious contribution in Mozambique. I think we are in good road, in good lies, in good ties with China.
Okay. Let's talk about the cultural and education exchanges between the two countries. We understand that these relations, the educational and cultural exchanges between the two sides have deepened in recent years. What are the most promising areas for future cooperation in this field? What's your take?
I think Chinese community in Mozambique is the future of Mozambican people. As you know, we have many Chinese here and we have a legal community.
Right.
That's why our government has proposed to introduce Chinese language in the universities and another higher schools. It means our cooperation between Mozambique or Mozambican or Chinese people will be for many, many future years. So I think this is good point. This is good point because before trading, before economic issues, what we have as an important relationship is the people.
Right. Which should actually be the first thing, eh?
Yeah, the first pay is the people.
Yeah.
So Chinese community and Mozambican community in China, I think is a good way. Even I can say to you, so many Chinese is talking Portuguese. as a
Okay.
as you know, Portuguese our official language.
Right.
There's many Chinese talking Portuguese
Right.
in the local languages. It is funny. I mean, I think I would say it's very, very
Fascinating.
important. So I appreciate that.
Mm, mm. But what are the most promising areas for future cooperation, maybe in culture and education? What do you think can come out of this relationship, this cultural and educational relationship? Do you think any other industries can develop from this? What could this yield?
As you know, Mozambique is struggling for terrorism in Cabo Delgado province
Okay.
since 2013. So I think Chinese government or official can explore this sector for future cooperation
Okay,
in
the
defense.
area of security, in the
In
area of
security and defense. I think it can explore much more this sector with official because Chinese has economic interest in Mozambique, and that economic interest and the investment must be secure. So to be secure, we need security. So to have a security, we need effort, financial effort, and support. So China, I think, can explore this in the future with Mozambique and Cameroon.
Okay. In 2024, Chinese tourism to Mozambique grew by 10%. How have initiatives like the sister city relationship between Maputo and Shanghai helped promote tourism and people-to-people understanding?
What I know is that there is some facility in visa issues to connect those cities and the people. But what I would like to see in the future is try to make an amendment or some understanding so that China see some cities and Mozambique and some cities, people living there can have a free visa to facilitate their, traveling, business, and study, including study. So free visa would be very, very useful and easy to move not only people but also product from those countries.
And as China and Mozambique mark 50 years of diplomatic relations, what are your hopes for the next phase of bilateral cooperation, and which areas do you believe will be the most critical for deepening the partnership over the next 50 years?
I think energy sector is critical.
Right.
Yeah, is a critical in the SADC countries. In the telecommunication sectors is critical. As I said, I was in a few weeks in Zambia.
Right.
Zambian people and the government is facing problem with electricity. And Mozambique is the candidate to provide electricity to that country. So we have a natural resource like natural gas and hydropower. We are under discussion to build a second biggest hydropower to produce electricity and export. As I said, security in Mozambique is a problem. We can give an example of terrorism in Cabo Delgado. But if China and the Mozambique government agreed, why not construct a satellite to security? So China, as an example and experience in satellite building and exploration, I think this China can also explore in a future cooperation. Satellite for observation or security, and the satellite for telecommunication. Electricity, as I said, is necessary to boost the project we had so that Mozambique can be part of the main or the principal energy exporter to the nearby countries like Zambia, Malawi, Zimbabwe, Botswana, and Africa too, South Africa. South Africa is dealing right now some blackout of energies.
Okay. Mr. Gil Anibal, thank you so much for your time, and happy 50 years to Mozambique, and of course, happy 50th anniversary on the diplomatic ties between China and Mozambique.
Thank you.
Listeners, you can subscribe to our online newsletter on CGTN or Substack to get more insights on China-Africa relations. Just search China-Africa Talk. For now, it's goodbye.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others. Post it on social media or leave a rating and review. Thanks again. See you next time.